name is Mary Brown. I am the widow of Slater Brown, who is the grandson of Joe Gans, the welterweight boxer. His mother was Joe Gans' daughter. I am 91 years old. I have 4 children, 3 girls and a son. They're Joe Gans' great-grandchildren. My mother-in-law's mother was a white lady. She was not married to Joe Gans. A black family adopted my mother-in-law. When I got married to my husband, we stayed with his mother for a while. She talked about her father all the time. She never talked about her mother, but she told me that her father and some young boys used to hang around Bel Air Market. There was a man that used to ask them to box each other, and they did. Everybody that Joe Gans boxed, he knocked out. So the man became very interested. I don't remember the man's name, or I don't remember if my mother-in-law ever told me his name. Great aunts, my mother's aunts, and they lived in Baltimore on Drill Avenue in the 1700 block. Well, when my father died, there were 4 of us. My oldest brother was about 18, and he could get a job. But the rest of us, we were 5, 7, and 9. We were, young kids that my mother had to take care of. So, my great aunt on Drill Avenue had a 3-story house. She wrote to my mother, told my mother, close the little house we were living in, pack up everything, and come to Baltimore and live with them. She told my mother that she would see that she got a job and they would help her to raise us. So we packed up and closed up the little house. I remember that I was only 5, but I remember that. And we came to Baltimore to live with my great aunts, because there were 3 of them. It was a big 3-story house. And I had 3 great aunts living there. 2 of them worked, 1 of them didn't. There was a family, white family named Woods. The man had something to do with the gas and electric company. I had 1, 2, there were 4 of my relatives worked for him. my mother was a domestic. She was a laundress. They got my mother a job working for him too. My mother was the laundress. My cousin was the cook. One great aunt was the upstairs maid. One aunt was the downstairs maid. I think that was all. All of them worked for that one man. It had something to do. He had a farm, but he had something, I don't know what, but he had something to do with the gas and the electric company. So my brother, 18, got a little job to help my mother. And I was 5. Yeah. So I couldn't start the school because I don't think at that time they had kindergarten. If they did, I didn't go. And my brother was 7. And they put him back a grade because he came from the country. So we went to school 120 Robinson, Pennsylvania Avenue. And we lived in the 1700 block of Druid Hill Avenue for a good while. When we first came there to live, I'm going to tell you something funny. My mother said we were up on the 3rd floor, I-79. And she said we were really crying. And she hollered upstairs and said, "What is wrong with y'all?" We couldn't find our way downstairs. The house had the front stairs, back stairs, and in St. Mary's County we had this one house, little house, so everything on one floor. My mother said we were crying. Couldn't find our way downstairs, a 3-story house. Every time I tell somebody that, they laugh. So we moved from there. We moved to the 2000 block of Druid Hill Avenue. The reason why we moved there, I had a cousin, Etta Pfeiffer, Dr. Pfeiffer's wife, and Dr. Albert. Well, they were my cousins. They lived 2030 Druid Avenue. When we moved from the 1700 block, we moved to 2004 Druid Hill Avenue. And we stayed there for a good while. I had never in my life seen my mother cry. Don't care what happened, because I had a sister and a brother died 6 weeks apart, and I never saw my mother cry. So she was just crying, and I said to myself, I asked her what was wrong. She said, every time I come home from work, y'all have done something, either this or that, which we had. She said, and I'm just sick of it, and I'm gonna get y'all a home. My mother rented a house in the 2400 block. of Drill Avenue. And we stayed there for a while. But we liked the neighborhood. In that 2004 near Parchman Street. We liked that neighborhood better. Then we did out there. We could walk out to Drill Park anytime. So, my great aunt told my mother about the house in the 1900 block of Drill Avenue. And we moved to the 1900 block of Drill Avenue. And that's where I stayed until I got married. Mother Gertrude was extraordinarily good cook. On Sunday mornings, they would have mashed potatoes or fried potatoes, pork chops, and hot rolls, and a scrambled egg if you wanted. They thought it was so peculiar that I didn't want any of that. I was used to egg and bacon. I never was used to a big breakfast like that. And it seems funny because we're in the same city, east or west. But they ate like that on Sunday mornings all the time. So I was telling a sister-in-law I had about it. She said, we did too. You didn't? I said, no, I've never heard of anybody eating like that for Sunday morning breakfast. But Mother Gert could cook anything, hot rolls. She made the best codfish cakes. They didn't taste like the ones I made. She made the best oxtail soup, fried chicken. Oh, I can't think of anything else. But she was an extraordinary good cook. And those three men, her husband and her two sons, really enjoyed it. Sometimes they would have waffles for Sunday morning breakfast and fried ham. And they were extremely, her sons, her husband, they were extremely hearty eaters. She had done a lot of cooking. Only on Sunday morning was breakfast. And the rest of the time, it was lunch. It was breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Sunday and Saturday. The rest of the week, it was only breakfast for the boys. I don't think my father ate breakfast. And her other son was going to school. She had to fix his lunch. My husband was working all day, and she would have to fix dinner for all three of them. And they would be sitting at that dinner table, waiting. They'd wash their hands, and they would be sitting at that dinner table, waiting for another great food. But she really could cook. I'm a finicky eater, and I liked her cooking. But told me the whole time when they first moved there. I don't know when they moved there, but the whole time they lived there, his father walked to work and walked home. That's what she said. His father would get up extraordinarily early in order to walk and get to work on time.
And he worked at the...
Huh?
And he worked at where? Where did he work?
He worked at the custom house until he died. I visited Johns Hopkins Hospital when I was pregnant. That was during the time of World War II. They examined the ladies. If they found that you were not going to have a bad time, they would ask you, would you please get an outside doctor, because so many of their doctors had been drafted for the army. And that's why my daughter Arlene was born at home. I got the Dr. Fred Adams, that lived right across the street from my mother-in-law. Before I called the doctor, I had 3 children at home. Before I would tell my husband called the doctor, I tell my husband called my mother. Just like my mother could deliver. So, when it was time for Arlene to be born, I told my husband, make sure you call my mother. Now, my mother was on Drill Avenue. This is in West Baltimore. And it was sort of late at night. And this was on Carlisle Street in East Baltimore. But my husband didn't have a car. So he called my mother. He said, you call me sis. She said, you tell sis I'll be right there. So she got the bus or streetcar, either one, and she came to Mother Kirk's. In fact, she got there before the doctor did, because he was right across the street, and he was keeping in contact with talking to my husband. So, Arlene was from 1227 Caroline Street, where her grandmother, the daughter of Joe Gaines, lived. Three of my brothers were in the army. And the war was beginning to be over. So my husband and I had to move from my mother's and get a place of our own. We moved in the Pole Homes Project on Lebanon Street. Mother Gert had one temporary job. She worked for the people, say the Noxzema people. There was a lotion called Noxzema that it was face or body lotion. It was more like a salve. She worked for them temporarily. And my daughter was born at Mother Gert's house and also was Mother Gert's pet. And when my daughter was born, she said, "Mary, what do you want to name her?" I said, "Nothing in particular." So she said, "Can I name her?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I want to name her Arlene." She said, "The family I used to work for have a daughter named Arlene." She said, "I always liked her name." So I told her, I said, "Yes, you can name her Arlene." So that's why my oldest daughter is named Arlene, her pet. She wanted to give her, in fact, she gave her piano lessons. Arlene was a child that didn't want to study in school. Arlene didn't want to study nothing. So my husband, we were living on St. Stephen's Street. My husband would take Arlene over to his mother's on Caroline Street, where the piano teacher was, every Saturday until the piano teacher told Mother Gert she was wasting her money. Because my daughter was that interested, and she wasn't.